Welcome to Mind Flow Radio.
We are creating conscious community by sharing mindful manifesting skills and transcendental music.
We are all in this
Together.
Oh my busy mind, how you do spin in so many directions, holding your many plates, thinking. Oh my busy mind, how do we let go of the past patterns and pave our way into the new world, free. It's a love rebellion, it's a love rebellion, it's a love rebellion, it's a love rebellion, love rebellion, love rebellion, love rebellion, love rebellion. Let there be peace. Let there be peace. Let there be peace. Let there be peace. Oh my busy mind, how I do wish to find a solution to heal our divided peoples. Oh my busy mind, it is time to be at peace and take a breath. Be centered, present in this moment, in this moment, in this moment. Love rebellion, 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 love rebellion. Let there be peace. Let there be peace. Let there be peace. Let there be peace.
Mindflow Radio.
Mindflow Radio.
She's Jaylyn.
And he's Monty.
And we're all in this together. Happy December.
Happy December.
Uh-huh.
It's the last month of 2022.
Oh, that's right. 2022. On our chalkboard downstairs, it says 2022, the year of collaboration and community.
Mm-hmm. Would
Yeah.
you say that was manifested?
I think so.
Good.
I think so, yeah. In a lot of subtle ways, but I feel like a lot of connections were made, and important connections, etc.
Yeah. It was a fairly fun year.
Yeah, it was.
Lots of lessons to be learned and all that good stuff.
Yeah, and it's not over yet. Here comes the holiday season.
Oh, boy.
Let's ramp everything up a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, I guess that is a good point. Just talking about how to make it through the holiday season.
How to make it through. From my perspective, it's how do I evolve my mind over the next month? Really, how do I give my subconscious a tune-up?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's been my whole year.
Yeah, well, me too. Actually, that's like every month for me, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But it's more dramatic on December. In December.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because, some people, it's their favorite time of the year and they get to see their family and, it's very exciting and traditions and rituals and...
Yeah.
And for others of us, it is a dreaded time of year that we just have to attempt to make it through as sane as possible.
Yeah, right. Let's try and avoid disaster during.
Yeah.
But that being said, I mean, I do feel very fortunate, and all of it most likely will turn out just fine.
Yeah. I mean, it will definitely in the big scheme of things, bigger picture, we're definitely making it through and it's all in divine timing. But yeah, it's an interesting time of the year. I'd say that this year I'm more optimistic than previous years.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting because I've been in a pretty bad mood lately. But,
Yeah.
It's still a lot better than it's been in the past.
There you go. You're like rebounding quickly,
Quicker than I ever have before, that's for sure.
There you go.
I've had a better attitude about winter, but it also has to do with the fact that it's been kind of nice out.
Well, and we had that one special day, the try to be a stoic day.
Oh,
that really I think it really helped.
Jump started me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for the listeners, so stoicism, and I suggest everybody tries this. Just try to be a stoic for a day, and what that means. I mean, there's a lot to stoicism, but it's working on your mind and working on your habits. I'm fairly convinced it's related to Hermeticism somehow. But that being said, to try and be a stoic for a day means to just follow a few simple rules in your mind. And one of those rules is try to not complain. So you try to not complain even in your mind, right? That's the thing. It's saying complaining out loud is one thing, but complaining in our own minds. So that's one way to be a stoic for a day is you don't complain, and you notice when you're complaining in your own mind and you try and quiet that down. So it's kind of like a mental jujitsu match with your mind, perhaps.
Yeah, sometimes your mind wins.
Pinned, right? Or whatever.
Tapped
Tapped out. Yeah, right. But sometimes the mind, well, it's interesting because So I guess it would be more accurate to say sometimes the old habits win, and sometimes the new habits win, because it's all in yourself.
The mind.
Yeah, it's all a part of the mind, right? Right. But so that's one aspect of trying to be a stoic for a day. Another aspect is you just be strict with yourself, obviously, but cut others slack. That's another aspect of stoicism that's pretty interesting. And then, another aspect. Let me think. Well, maybe those two are enough.
Yeah, those are pretty potent.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
So we did a day without complaining, and it wasn't that hard, really. I just didn't think about anything that was irritating.
That's awesome.
And he was all impressed.
Well, see, what you're saying, though, is you took control of your attention.
Yeah.
And if something was irritating, you would not focus on it.
Right.
For long.
Yeah, I just didn't focus on it at all that day. It was a good day. It was a nice day, and things went well, and it was easy to not complain. But that's not always true.
No, but I mean, it was a great experiment, I thought.
Yeah.
And, fun.
Yeah, and I don't know. I've just been so busy. I don't think I have that much time to complain until I get all, But this brings to mind what I wanted to talk about, which is, the fine line between processing and ruminating.
Oh.
And I tend to I have a pretty strong trauma background, so I am hypervigilant, and I tend to, as soon as I don't feel safe, I basically lose my marbles, and I get rageful internally, not so much externally. On the outside, I just look like I'm crying and being weird, but inside I'm filled with rage and I don't know how to handle it, and then I luckily have Monty to process with, but then there's this line that it's like processing. The whole idea of processing trauma is that you integrate, you become whole again, you unify all of your parts, you feel, you don't feel like you just abandoned a piece of yourself on the road. It's all of you is now present. All of you is accounted for. All of you is able to forgive and let go, and all of you moves forward. And that would be what the goal of processing is plainly integration.
Yeah, it's sort of like fully understanding something, then you can let it go.
Right.
And that may include forgiveness.
Absolutely. It absolutely includes forgiveness for myself, for the situation, and for all of the players and the situation,
the drama of it,
the one seen and unseen,
right.
Yeah, it can go really deep, if you're with me on that one and you've experienced a lot of trauma, and it doesn't even have to be something that big in the moment. It can just be like the vibration of it is similar to something in your past. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you're just in a full uproar of defense and needing to assure your own safety. And it's like imaginary. It's not as big as you think it is, but your mind has fully committed to, you are not safe. We are in danger. What are we going to do? We got to escape. We got to run away. We got to, we got to fight, and and it can be really draining to go through it. And I think my average right now is about 3 days. 3 days of processing, but I think that's because there's a lot of ruminating and I don't have very much pause in between my processing and my ruminating. So like Monty and I will talk and we'll get to this place of, okay, you're okay now. But in my mind, I'm like, no, I got to replay this like 100 more times.
Yeah.
And then, 2 hours later, I'm super pissed off again. And I'm like, okay, you got to help me. And he's like, oh, geez, we just went over all of this like 2 hours ago.
I mean, in this idea of rumination being unhealthy psychologically.
It's super unhealthy.
Well, yeah, it is. And I mean, it's super common.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the way we roll in this culture. Sort of. That's why so many people can get just tied up in various dramas, because they'll just ruminate on it. And I mean, sometimes people can ruminate on a problem for their entire life and hold a grudge and just keep thinking. I mean, it's just
really unhealthy.
It's a really horrific issue that we have in this culture.
And a piece of that is not always acknowledged, but more and more studies are showing this to be true. Your body holds that vibration. So if you decide, like maybe you don't even make the decision to hold a grudge, it just happens. You ruminate every morning, you wake up and you're like, that person did me wrong. And every morning you wake up and that person did me wrong. And it's like you remind yourself, oh yeah, that person did me wrong. Yeah. And it becomes this is like a part of your daily ritual, reminding yourself that person did you wrong.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, well, it's not even all of a sudden, but you just kind of get a feeling that something's not right. And you go to the doctor and they're like, oh, you're fine. And then, 5 years later, you're like, no, there's something really wrong. And you go back, oh, you have cancer. But you had a feeling that something was wrong, but you were still fine. But in the energy realm, you were pulling down, you were lodging in your system something harmful.
Well, there's lots of people who have cancer.
Right.
And perhaps some of our listeners have cancer.
Yes.
And I don't know. It's sort of like if our energy is less than optimal,
we're vulnerable.
Yeah, vulnerable for a lot of things.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it's hard to, like, I understand what you're saying, and I have a lot of compassion, and I work with people with cancer and so on and so forth, and I absolutely am very, I honor the process. But there is hope to, if you work on the mind, it is possible to heal. And there's been so many, and it was funny because I got really into Dr. Joe Dispenza, and if you haven't checked him out, I absolutely suggest it. And he's had so many miraculous healings of cancer, Parkinson's. I can't even remember them all, but his message is beautiful, and I absolutely love it. But I recently started doing a Qigong training, teacher training, and guess what? They have all these testimonies of people healing from cancer and other things. And it's like, oh, there's not just one way, And that to me was amazing when all of a sudden I'm hearing these testimonies on Qigong healing cancer. And I was like, whoa, okay, so there's more than one way. Yeah. And really, it's that integration piece. It's that moving the chi. It's that letting go. It's that forgiveness. It's that feeling that you can protect yourself. In Qigong, it's you're working on your chi, and that chi creates a chi field, and that chi field protects you. You don't even need to think. A lot of colleagues will have protection chants because they're doing energy work and they're vulnerable, and so they have these protection chants or protection, I don't know, any kind of protection ritual that they do to work in the energy realm and not take on any negative energy. But what I understood from Qigong training is the chi field does that for you. You don't even have to think anything. It just does it for you.
Yeah.
I think I just got lost, didn't I?
Okay.
I don't know. I was getting excited.
Yeah. Well, you're a future Qigong master.
No. That's his words, not mine, just for the record. He likes to say that. Maybe I'll be a teacher, but I'm never going to claim masterhood.
Well, I'm not saying you'd claim it. That's not the way it works, really.
But back to the point of rumination.
Yeah, rumination will wreck your chi. That's the thing. Rumination will really, or not wreck it, but really hinder your chi, because what rumination does is it doesn't give your mind any time for these like breaks for peace.
Yeah.
And we create chi easier when we're peaceful, when our minds and bodies are peaceful. But if our mind is ruminating all the time, it really, for me, I feel unwell physically when that's happening, and it happens to me too. It's so common, but noticing it is step one, right? And which is what you're talking about, noticing this rumination, and then just, I don't know, did your rumination stop when you were doing Qigong this morning?
No.
Okay, well, you tried though.
I did.
You tried. That's these old habits, mind habits are powerful.
Yeah.
And like the belief that you're not safe, that's somewhere it's deep in your subconscious.
Yeah, really
deep. When it rears its ugly head, it gets triggered, and then your conscious mind will do everything to harmonize with that belief, because you're just like ruminating and but processing is important.
Yeah, it is.
But we can do that in our own minds too. We don't necessarily have to talk about it. And
I do.
Yeah, well, some people might have to.
Yeah, I think, some people are really like, you're a very internal person, and you don't like process much out loud with me. Maybe I'm just not very good at holding space for you. I'm not sure, but I think just in general, and you just have that self-sufficiency of being able to process and let go.
Well, yeah, I kind of do. I try to do therapy in my own mind.
That's cool.
Really. And just like, but yeah, heck, when I am ruminating, I notice it. I'm fully aware of it. And that's one of the reasons I love power breathing, because it just like crushes rumination. Because it's hard. It's hard work.
Yeah.
Or, really exercising or something like that can work too. Or working on the optimal breathing. Maybe I'll talk about that for a minute, if that's...
Sure.
Because it's a way of reducing rumination for sure. And it's something I've been working on the last 10 days. Today's my day 10 of my optimal breathing challenge.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I've been logging about it every day.
Nice.
Yeah. The idea is to do as much optimal breathing as possible during the day. And so I've kind of been guesstimating what percentage of the day I'm optimally breathing and what it is. And it kind of, when we ruminate, I should mention, when we ruminate, we tend to have very shallow breathing, right? In our breathing, we're holding our breath. We're like, it's all goofed up. It's shallow. We're not breathing in all the way. We're not exhaling all the way. It's erratic, it's sped up, who knows? But it's not, and so we're not getting enough oxygen in our system or in our brain, which doesn't help anything, right? And our chi's all goofed up because of it too. And, but what optimal breathing is there's actually 3 steps to it. And I'll describe it from the middle of the inhalation to begin with. And as you're breathing in, you feel the ribs expand underneath the armpits, staying relaxed, and then exhaling, and the ribs come together. And then at the end of the exhalation, you try and pull the stomach in. And then you breathe in, and stomach expands just a little bit, just slightly. And then the ribs expand all the way around. And the upper lungs expand as well. So it's like a wave of oxygen, or you're filling your lungs from the bottom to the top. you're very conscious of it. You really feel the lungs expanding as you're breathing in. And if you stay with this for a while, the heart rate slows down and the mind clears. So it's a good way to overcome rumination. And I've certainly noticed for myself when I can get in that place of doing the optimal breathing for like 45 minutes straight, that I feel great, And
that's cool.
Yeah, so I've had a number of those moments during the last 10 days. And I'm just going to try and keep going. Personally.
That's cool. I do want to share with y'all out there, if you're like me, you may need a mantra, because I'll do optimal breathing for like 2 breaths and then I'm just back to ruminating. Like it does not change anything for me. Like I wanted to, but it just doesn't work. So what I've noticed for myself is 2 things. One, if I add I am here now. So on the inhale, I, exhale, am, inhale here, exhale now. It is all internal. Inhale, I, exhale, am, inhale here, exhale now. So it's all internal and it's with that optimal breath. The other thing that I have to do is I have to set a timer. And the timer starts and I do my darndest to do that for the full 30 minutes or whatever. Like last night I was in a pretty negative ruminating spot and kind of just it's an old pattern that's happened over and over again in my life, and I'm just really tired of it. I want to evolve out of it. I want to be done feeling so vulnerable and feeling so attacked at the slightest thing, and it's just like not a good way to be, And so, Monty has his forgiveness protocol, and he'll share it in a moment. And so I'm doing the forgiveness protocol, and I'm like, I need to do penance because this is just not working. Like, nothing's working. I'm just continually ruminating. It's been hours now, and I'm suffering. Like, I feel like crap. And so he says, optimal breathing for 30 minutes. So I set my timer. I use the Insight timer, and I get my first ding, and then I'm laying on the yoga mat and breathing, and yeah, I was not able to maintain it. But I gave it my best for the whole 30 minutes, and I'd say I probably did it 50% of the time.
Optimal breathing?
Yeah.
Did you do the I am here?
Yes. It's the only way I can stay breathing.
Would you lead us in just a little bit of that right now?
Okay. So inhaling deeply, filling the ribs from the bottom to the top, in your mind say I. Exhaling gently and slowly releasing the breath, in your mind say am. Inhale, breathing from the bottom to the top, in your mind say here. And exhaling slowly and fully, in your mind saying now. And you just keep with that.
Thank you.
It's one of my favorite mantras. And our kitty cat is pestering the door. So that's what that scratchy noise is if you're hearing it. But working with the optimal breathing, I think, is a really great way of attempting to change, like you were saying, having that pause, having that peace, having that stillness, having that presence, having that step back from the wheel just going super, super fast.
And when you take that step back, like new thoughts can occur.
Yeah.
Like new creative thoughts. And, I didn't think of it that way. Or,
Yeah.
And, I thought of the third stoic attribute of, if you want to be stoic for a day, there's the not complaining, there's the, being strict with yourself, cut other slack. And the third component is to look at challenges as opportunities. Because that's one thing that's consistent in life. It's one thing I figured out. Okay, it's like the challenges never cease. They never cease. And it's sort of like once I I came to peace with that, I was just way more at peace with my life. Because then I would look at my current challenges when they pop into my consciousness. I'm like, oh, they're another challenge. Okay, so it's an opportunity. Okay, what am I going to do with this? You know, I mean, and when these challenges go away, there will be new challenges that appear. And it's like, oh, I get it. So it's how we deal with these challenges that's really crucial, but having a good attitude about them is a great step in overcoming them. And that attitude for me is, oh, challenges are opportunities, you know, and opportunities for growth, opportunities to overcome something, opportunities to you know, see new things, or who knows. But
yeah, I like that perspective. It actually does help me with my situation.
Oh, good.
Because sometimes, you know, for those of you out there that don't know, I'm becoming an astrologer, and it's super cool and also challenging in itself because I have a pretty hard chart. And so, you know, I can look at that chart and I can start getting full of self-pity, like, oh, dang, look at all this, so much of challenges, and oh yeah, sure, it's good for me. And, you know, I get in this self-pity of like my challenges, and it's like, oh yeah, it is opportunities. It's, you know, the people with the hardest charts are the ones that have the most likelihood of like liberation, because it's like, it's so hard that you're more likely to be liberated because you're trying to get out of the hardness and the challenge of it all. Whereas like if you have like a really good scenario in your life, you're less likely to try to change that because it's nice having a good life. So, you know, but I do want to say we're going to play you a song, and this one is a cover from a long time ago. We always, you know, just say it's from the original. Hippie wrote this, and it's called Nature Boy, and we added Aham Prema to the end, which means the undeniable self is divine love. So maybe that'll go with this idea of, you know, challenges are opportunities, and to be in the now and to know that the season too shall pass. And we'll be back with you in a moment to talk about the forgiveness protocol. There was a boy, a very strange enchanted boy. They say he wanted very far over land and sea. A little shy and sad. The season
The self-forgiveness protocol. Something that's helped me substantially. And the idea is that mistakes are part of the human condition, right? And actually, there's 4 steps to the self-forgiveness protocol. The first step is people make mistakes, right? It's part of what we do as humans. We make mistakes, lots of mistakes. Number 2 is I am a human. So humans make mistakes, number 1. Number 2, I am human. Number 3, I will do everything I can to not make that mistake again. That's an important one. I'm going to try and learn from this and not make it again. And number 4, I forgive myself. And then there is another step, if that's not enough, and that's penance. Dun, 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 dun. And for me, penance is just, if I make a big mistake and that's not good enough, I'll be like, oh, okay, I'll try to do an hour of optimal breathing, watch clock. And it's been great because then, it really brings insight into the scenario, whatever the mistake was. And it really, because it helps the mind to think more clearly and think more effectively. So actually, those were the 5 steps of self-forgiveness protocol, which is really can be a very effective tool at getting us out of that lower mind state. Because you can look at your mind, and there are 2 general mind states. There's the elevated mind state where you're feeling content and you're feeling inspired and you're feeling, self-love perhaps, or forgiving, or compassionate, or creative, and then there's the lower mind state, and that's when you're feeling anxiety or depression or hatred, I would say, or you get the idea, but when a lot of times when I would make a mistake, I would go into that lower mind state because I would be like beating myself up,
I'm good at that.
And it's like beating myself up is, it's just a surefire way to be, stuck in the lower mind collective. And I call it a collective because I believe that's what it is. Our minds, our consciousness creates strings of energy. If you want to bring in modern physics just for a minute, super strings of energy. And these strings of energy emanate from our conscious minds. And then similar vibrational strings connect with each other from people all around the world. So there's a higher mind collective and a lower mind collective, or an elevated mind collective and a lower mind collective. And when I'm stuck in the lower mind collective can be like super sticky too, because it is a collective, and your waves are just intertwined with all these other lower waves, and it can be really easy to stay there.
Yeah.
But that's where the self-forgiveness protocol kind of can be empowering to you or to me to bust out of that lower collective. And that's what actually got me started on my 10-day optimal breathing challenge. Was just I made a mistake, I felt terrible, and then I busted out of it through the optimal breathing. I'm just going to keep going. I felt empowered.
That's cool.
For the first time in a long time. And I was like, I want to keep this feeling of empowerment, because that feeling of empowerment, that's part of the elevated mind collective.
So is it working?
Yeah.
It must be kind of hard because I've been full of negativity lately. So.
Well, it's a challenge, but challenges happen, It's like that. Okay, this is an opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's kind of, but I mean, that's the thing. It's if we're empowered enough, we can ideally stay in that elevated collective most of the time. I mean, in Hermetics, they talk about how you go from the elevated to the lower to the you can swing back and forth in a pattern, sort of swinging, just natural, like a pendulum. But in Hermetics, they talk about being able to stay in that elevated mind state for longer periods of time.
I thought it was neutral mind.
Well, that's a neutral mind is a way to get into the elevated mind collective.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting for me because I feel like the loop that I get myself in is I see that I've fallen, and then I kick myself while I'm down, and then I try to do something, but it doesn't work, and I kick myself again.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think I'm at about a 3-day rebound from something that really triggers me. And I think that's an interesting thing because it's like there's a lot of people that have had just so much trauma, right?
Yeah.
And then there's another population of people who've had intense trauma, and in that intense trauma, there's like another percentage of people who repressed it and don't even acknowledge that they've actually had that trauma. But if there are these triggers that happen, like if you get random triggers that are in a theme, there's a good chance there's some trauma back there that is trying to bubble up to be healed. And that's an interesting thing about it, because there's this attempt to heal, right? The body and the mind want to be well. And I mean, some people call that this physical entity that we inhabit is self-healing.
Yeah.
But it's not super easy.
No.
If we were able to fully unplug and relax, it would be. You know, if we had the ability to know we were safe for the period of time necessary for the body to do its thing.
Yeah, but still, even when you're safe, if the mind is ruminating.
Right.
You could be anywhere. If your mind's ruminating, it's messing things up. If the mind's ruminating,
it will not, like, I used to not understand why I was so slow at healing. Like, I'd pull a muscle. This is my life. I pull a muscle, and then I'm super pissed. Because I've pulled a muscle and now I can't move as fast and I have too much to do and yada, yada, yada. And then my mind is ruminating. And depending on my circumstance, if I'm not in a safe situation to begin with and my mind is ruminating, it takes months to heal a pulled muscle. Huh. And that's really not normal.
Yeah.
So I know I've met enough people in my life to know that I am not alone in this and that there's actually a lot of people who maybe silently understand and others that will like join in the chorus of wanting to heal. And I think part of it though is that somebody who resonates with the triggers but doesn't resonate with the idea of trauma, just really explore it. Really explore it, because the triggers are just a sign that there's something that needs and wants to be healed. And if you have that regular trigger, you know, someone in your life just automatically pisses you off for just being present, there's a good chance that they are exuding, and I don't even know if that's the right word, that just like popped out, exuding, presenting with something similar to a situation that you experienced, that you had a loss of control and were overwhelmed by a situation that was etched in your body's memory and your mind's memory. And that's what trauma is. It's that simple.
I mean, as far as like trauma and humanity, I mean, our ancestors have had just like a staggering amount of trauma. Mm-hmm. Staggering. And trauma is passed down and on some level from generation to generation. Mm-hmm. So, absolutely. I mean, we all our ancestors living in caves and living in the, you know, in the year 300 AD, you know, I mean,
3000 AD.
All our ancestors have had a lot of trauma. So a lot of that trauma has been handed down to us in our DNA. And I think in our belief systems and
absolutely,
you know, our deep-seated beliefs. I think one of them is, you know, war is good. Because for our ancestors, they needed war to survive. Mm-hmm. And then, that's why I think it's so easy for the people to believe war is good still. Because in our deep-seated belief system, you know.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's an interesting topic.
Yeah, it is. But, I mean, that's just trauma. That's huge trauma.
Yeah.
War is huge trauma.
Yeah.
And it's been, you know, consistent.
Yeah.
Throughout the ages, really.
Seriously.
Yeah. And
there's been very little times.
But now is the time when we have the tools to heal from this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, now is the time when we have access to all these like different techniques, mind techniques and body techniques and breathwork techniques and
different
Qigong,
traditions of
yoga. Mm-hmm. And it's all really good for helping
breakthroughs in science and understanding what trauma is and what helps it heal the most. And
so now's the time to really work on healing, I think, for all of us, really.
I absolutely think so. I feel like things are so obviously topsy-turvy right now because we need to focus inward and really it's so hard when the outside world feels like it's crumbling to go, oh, the best way to heal this situation is to heal myself. Like, that's so hard to trust that the world will maintain its structural integrity. And you can and need to go within and do your meditations and do your inner healing.
Yeah, right.
And that's the best thing you can absolutely do for the culture.
Oh, for sure. Well, yeah, when you work on healing yourself, it helps your family, for sure. It helps your tribe. You know, it helps your community. It helps your country. It helps all of humanity, for sure.
Absolutely. You know? And it's hard to trust, but it's true. And it's been shown time after time by the brave, you know, the courageous ones that say, I think I need to heal myself so I can make a difference, you know. And there's time and time in history that it's shown to be helpful, the most helpful. And I can't think of any names other than Gandhi right now, but
I think Jesus, man, 40 days in the desert.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, and he came out of that with, if it's true, he came out of that situation with like tremendous power. You know, he was like super empowered. He's like, whoa, you know. Yeah. And when he was in the desert for 40 days, he probably just wasn't walking around kicking pebbles, you know. It's probably really training.
Yeah.
And who knows what, you know, perhaps hermetics.
Some kind of really strong inner practice. And whatever.
Yeah, right. Whatever. Yeah, right. Maybe it's something he just figured out on his own.
Yeah. Who knows?
You know?
Who knows?
You know, his prayer or something. But yeah, he worked on himself, and then he came out of that just super empowered.
And yeah, Jesus is a great example. You know, there's a couple reasons why, this being December and supposedly his birthday, you know, and it's a great time to celebrate Jesus. And and what I think is really helpful for me, you know, there's a couple things that I have attempted to overcome, and one of those is just kind of the religious oppression that I've experienced in my life, and it continues to trigger me. And Jesus was oppressed. I mean, think about it. His own people were the ones that put him in the jail and put him up on the cross, you know? But did he, you know, condemn anybody? Did he say y'all are dead to me? No. He had deep compassion and said, Father, forgive them. They know not what they do. Why can't I do that? Why can't everyone do that? You know, he's this great teacher.
I think you need 40 days in the desert.
I do like the heat, but I don't know.
But maybe 40. Well, you always do these 40-day trainings.
Yeah, I do.
I do a lot of those.
Do a lot of 40-day things. Right now I'm doing 100 days of a particular qigong practice, and
well, I tell you,
one thing that I learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza, I did 51 days of his meditation. It was great. I absolutely loved it. But then I started this teacher training, and I was like, well, I should probably do what it says. So I decided, you know, because that's how I am. I try something 100%. I give it 100% of my awareness and my attention. I try it on, and I try it on without judgment. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm doing 100 days of this meditation. And like we said earlier in the show, today sucked. But one thing Dr. Joe taught me is that there's no such thing as a bad meditation. And so when I have a bad meditation, or, you know, my perception of a bad meditation, I just repeat that. There's no such thing as a bad meditation. And it helps me get through it.
Yeah. Well, it's like an old track coach. I remember he told us, he said, some days you're going to go out running, it's not going to feel very good. Mm-hmm. But those days are like super important that you just do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then some days you're going to feel great. just the way it is.
In the days that I've had bad meditations, quote unquote, something amazing happens at some point during that day. And I have some kind of an epiphany or a breakthrough. And yeah, it wasn't during the meditation, but at some point during the day, I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful for my existence in this life. And maybe that's this moment right now for me. You know, I'm really grateful for all of you out there, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to share with you, and I hope that it resonated. I hope that I was not a trigger for you. And I do honor all of our journey, and I send a lot of love out there to each of you. And thank you, 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 thank you. I'm sending all of my blessings that you find the most joy possible during this season, and that you find your deep, deep, deep connection to the divine that is always open to you, no matter what name you call the divine. I honor you, and I wish you the best on the end of this year, and look forward to talking to you again next year. And for our local peeps, we will be at the Commons December 11th at 11 a.m. And I hope that you can make it and join us. We'll be talking, I forgot what we're going to talk about, but something to do with the holidays and making it through the holidays. And so again, thank you. And if you have anything you'd like to share.
Yeah, thank you to everybody. And we're all in this together. Energetically, I think we're physically all connected. And
I implore you, if you have never tried it, to try a 40-day practice. And why not start on Jesus's birthday or near that? You know, it's like, whether or not you celebrate his birth, you know, he's an epic character in our whole human civilization, and worth celebrating, even just for that reason, you know. And he was one of many teachers that say the 40 days is super important. So give it a try, mark your calendar, choose a practice, and go for it.
Yep, and I'll continue my optimal breathing challenge. Today's day 10, so I'll report back next month.
Awesome.
And after that, I'll have the 40 days down by then.
Yeah, it would be about 40 days next show. Yeah. Awesome. Well, many blessings and much love. Satnam, Namaste, Aho, Amen.
Peace and love.